Hey now, it's time for another episode of Wrestling's Greatest Moments. Masked wrestlers are an essential part of wrestling, with grapplers guarding their identities like real-life superheroes, or in some cases supervillains. However, as we saw in our first video, some masked men weren't fooling anyone, making for some serious shenanigans and often some laughs at the expense of the promotion's heels. Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments looks at 5 more masked wrestlers whose gimmicks didn't fool anyone. As we saw last time, these storylines typically involve babyfaces who were wronged and forced to leave a territory, only for a masked wrestler to show up in their place with little doubt as to who was under the hood. However, as the good folks at TV Tropes explain it, these masks aren't really meant to fool anybody, just create an air of reasonable doubt. Who is El Gran Gordo, aka the Big Fat Man, and what was his relationship, if any, to WWE superstar Otis? In 2020, the tag team Heavy Machinery was split up during the WWE draft when Tucker was drafted to Raw while Otis remained on SmackDown. At the time, The Miz and John Morrison were making things difficult for Tucker, so he called upon an unknown masked man to help him out. On October 19, 2020, The Miz and John Morrison faced Tucker and his masked partner, El Gran Gordo, in tag team competition. While the WWE's A-lister and Johnny Drip Drip were certain they knew who was under the mask, they still had to face them. The element of surprise initially helped the two babyfaces, but eventually the well-oiled team of Miz and Morrison got the advantage. That is until 24/7 champion R-Truth suddenly ran into the ring in an effort to elude Akira Tozawa. This distracted Miz long enough for El Gran Gordo to recover and hit the worm, an obvious homage to his friend Otis, and score the 1-2-3. In 2020, Otis tweeted about his friendship with El Gran Gordo. "I first met El Gran Gordo back in 2014 during the Pan American Games in Greco-Roman Wrestling in Mexico City. We'll always have at Tucker WWE back against those punks Miz and Morrison, the best to wear pink, and with incredible lucha skills in the squared circle." Otis's friend El Gran Gordo hasn't returned to action since helping Tucker, but like many of the masked wrestlers on our list, he's likely ready to answer the call when needed. Second-generation wrestler Barry Windham made an immediate impact during his time in championship wrestling from Florida, pinning then NWA World Champion Ric Flair in a non-title match, and going on to defeat some of the promotion's toughest heels, including Dick Slater and Angelo King Kong Mosca. However, a run-in with a former family friend led to both disaster and disgrace. Wrestler Cowboy Ron Bass was a babyface who was said to be friends with wrestlers Dusty Rhodes and Blackjack Mulligan, Barry Windham's real-life dad, until jealousy consumed Bass and he betrayed Rhodes during a title match against NWA World Champion Harley Race. At the time, Bass had possession of a horse saddle that was a Rhodes family heirloom. Wanting to do the right thing and get it back, Barry Windham put his Florida Heavyweight Championship title up against the heirloom saddle. While Windham won the match, he lost a lopsided post-match beatdown to the one-man gang and Ron Bass. To make matters worse, the saddle was put on Windham's back, with Ron Bass riding him around the ring. The heels were plenty happy mocking Windham as a dirty yellow dog following his humiliation. Shortly after that, a mysterious masked man known as the Dirty Yellow Dog showed up looking for payback. His uncanny resemblance to Barry Windham raised more than a few eyebrows as he beat Ron Bass senseless in various chain matches. Windham subsequently returned to Florida and the dog faded from sight for years. However, wrestling promoters aren't afraid to reuse a gimmick or in some cases just run it into the ground. In 1991, Flyin' Brian Pillman lost a loser leaves WCW match to Barry Windham at Clash of Champions 15. Pillman teamed with El Gigante against Windham and Arn Anderson, with the person being pinned having to leave WCW. Pillman exited the promotion only for a masked wrestler named the Dirty Yellow Dog to show up. By now you've already guessed that this wrestler just happened to have a similar build and moveset as Flyin' Brian, which led to accusations the two were one and the same. Ironically, Pillman adopted the same masked identity as the man who'd sent him packing, depending on whom you believe was under the mask. Like his predecessor, this Dirty Yellow Dog eluded attempts at being unmasked, and on at least one occasion, Flyin' Brian was seen with the Dirty Yellow Dog. While some skeptics might argue that Pillman's tag team partner Tom Zank donned the Dirty Yellow Dog outfit when Pillman was present, it either shows the accusations against Pillman were false, or he borrowed the superhero playbook where confidants will preserve a secret identity by playing the masked hero when called upon. Somebody say something about Wildfire? Tommy Rich lived up to his nickname Wildfire by becoming one of the hottest babyface acts of the early 80s, including a 4-day reign as NWA World Heavyweight Champion. In 1983, Rich feuded with Ted DiBiase in Georgia Championship Wrestling, dropping a loser leaves town match. Rich left town, but a masked man known as Mr. R showed up, a wrestler who once again bore several similarities to the person who'd been sent packing. DiBiase did his best to expose Mr. R's identity and seemed to come close when he defended the NWA National Championship against him. During the match, Tommy Rich showed up at ringside, leading fans to wonder who was Mr. R. DiBiase finally unmasked him, revealing Brad Armstrong under the hood. A shocked DiBiase turned to see Tommy Rich in the studio, and Armstrong capitalized, rolling him up for the pin and the title. Tommy Rich eventually returned to action, and Mr. R took an extended holiday. Dusty Rhodes' nickname is the American Dream, but there's a case to be made that he's also the man of 1,001 faces. Consider that Dusty was accused in the past of being the Midnight Rider, a larger-than-life masked man who came to Championship Wrestling from Florida after Kevin Sullivan defeated Dusty in a Loser Leaves Florida match. For more on the man from Diablo Canyon, check out our video, The Midnight Rider and His Magical Mystery Tour. In 1986, more accusations flew Dusty's way as the Midnight Express manager Jim Cornette accused Dusty of hiding behind a mask. Dusty wasn't the only person allegedly hiding, as Jim Cornette pointed the finger at Rhodes' friend Magnum TA, calling him out for also hiding under a hood. In this case, the men under the masks hadn't been suspended. They were looking for revenge on NWA World Tag Team Champions, the Midnight Express, and more importantly, their manager, James E. Cornette. In April 1986, the Midnight Express and Cornette laid out the American Dream Dusty Rhodes in a terrible 2-on-1 attack. Rhodes' valet, Baby Doll, instinctively ran into the ring to save him, but to no avail. The heels pounced, with Cornette sinking to new lows as he blasted Baby Doll with his trademark tennis racket, badly injuring her. Naturally, Dusty was looking for payback for Baby Doll, and he went about it like any wrestler worth his salt. He challenged Cornette's team to a championship match, knowing that taking away the Midnight Express's gold would be the sweetest revenge. Dusty and his tag team partner, Magnum TA, collectively known as America's Team, sought a match against the Midnight Express, but Jim Cornette refused to sign the contract. On May 3, 1986, Cornette taunted Dusty and Magnum, telling the fans the two would have to earn a title shot like anyone else. In the meantime, Cornette said his team would work a tune-up match against an up-and-coming team known as the James Boys. If Cornette was expecting a tune-up match against a team such as the Mulkey Brothers, one of Jim Crockett Promotions' better-known enhancement talents, he was in for a shocker. The song Midnight Rider played as two masked men entered the ring. Interestingly, Frank and Jesse James bore an uncanny resemblance to Magnum TA and Dusty Rhodes. At least Cornette thought so. Jim Crockett Promotions announcer Tony Schiavone wasn't so sure. The James Boys defeated the Midnight Express, infuriating Cornette. However, Cornette's woes were just beginning as Baby Doll showed up with a bull rope, chasing him off. The James Boys were a formidable team, in fact defeating the Midnight Express, Beautiful Bobby Eaton, and Loverboy Dennis Condrey in several non-title matches. Perhaps realizing Cornette would never grant them a title match, Frank and Jesse embarked on some frontier justice against Cornette. During an episode of WCW Worldwide, the James Boys ambushed Cornette and the Midnight Express, tying a rope around Cornette's neck and dragging him off. Frank and Jesse tied Cornette to the back of a pickup truck as Baby Doll watched on. The masked men were about to drive off with Cornette when the Midnight Express rescued him just in the nick of time. Although the James Boys never captured the NWA World Tag Team Championship, they provided fans with plenty of entertainment, including a match where the Midnight Express unmasked one of the James Boys, only to find it was an enhancement talent under the hood. Cornette, a spoiled rich mama's boy, got a hard lesson in justice, and he knew the James Boys were just getting started. As the man nicknamed the Louisville Lip so eloquently put it, even Ray Charles could see who the James Boys were. That was cold comfort for Cornette, who knew Frank and Jesse were closing in. Finally, Cornette's mama stepped in to save her little boy. Cornette's mom was a plot device, and although never seen, she was often incorporated into storylines by having her buy her son's way out of trouble, whether it was paying off fines, or in the following case, providing him with protection. In this instance, Mama Cornette's help led to the debut of Big Bubba Rogers, a Cornette family friend who now served as Jim Cornette's bodyguard. Cornette revealed that Bubba often took care of family problems, such as debt collection, and his mama had hired Rogers to keep wrestlers from attacking her baby boy. It was a role that would keep Rogers busy, whether it was fighting off the James Boys or wrestlers Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA. Which of these not-so-mysterious masked men do you remember? If you think we've forgotten any, let us know, but rest assured there's at least one more video coming that will cover the masked wrestlers who didn't fool anyone. Share your thoughts in the comments section, and let us know if there are any videos you'd like wrestling's greatest moments to cover. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and spread the good news about wrestling's greatest moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.